What's up, guys? Straight from the chest. My name is Justin Groth, and I want to welcome you to another episode of my personal development podcast. Guys, if you're new, welcome. And if you're old and been listening to me for any length of time, thank you so much. Again, your time means so much to me. And even the newbies right now, if I got anybody new listening, it definitely means so much to me that you're taking your time and honestly giving me something that you'll never get back. So again, I always like to preface every podcast or most podcasts by saying that because again, it really does mean everything to me. I mean, even if nobody listened to me, I'd still be doing this, to be honest with you. But at the same time, it helps me because at least I'm reaching somebody, even if it's just one person, and that means a lot to me. Guys, you know what today is? Today's Sunday. That means two things. That means pizza, cheat meal, and that means 90 Day Fiance. And I can't believe I'm sharing this type of information with you, but it's who I am. I'm wrapped up in that show. And I'm not really, I don't think that I'm embarrassed by it, maybe a little bit. But at the same time, I'm not going to be embarrassed over things that I get excited for and entertained by. I'm entertained by. And so, on that note, we have... I was just noticing through through social media, some of the couples that are on the 90 Day Fiance on social media as well. I don't know, they came up on my Explore app, and you know why though? Because clearly, Instagram is knowing that I'm talking about them, and that's why they want to put them up in my feed, man. I swear, it's crazy. I hate that, but I don't really care at the same time. I don't know. Anyways, mixed feelings about that. But there's this one couple, and as much as I'm a fan of the show, I forget people's names all the time. I know the one girl's name is Avery. I don't know what the guy's name is. I forgot. But he's like this Australian foreign dude. Anyways, so I saw they took a picture together, and they've had a lot of trouble. I mean, like most relationships, we have trouble. There's rocky roads, and there's peaks and valleys, etc. But, you know, one thing that people forget to understand or really put into play here when they sign up for a show like this and you're put on display, you're put on blast, a lot of your laundry's out there, you have to be willing to take the hits like most people don't take hits. I mean, it's arguable that even if you stand in a neutral position with any one particular subject or anything, I mean, you're still going to get people cracking hate at you. And so when you sign up for these shows, like these dating shows or reality shows in general, you got to be prepared to be hated. And I'm not talking about, I don't like that person. I mean, like, there are some people that are going to hate you that, you could say one thing that just plummets their insides and a bomb goes off, and they're like, from that point on, they hate you, and they actually get at you too. Like they'll actually try to go after you in certain regards, social media or whatever, or letters, and they'll find your address, they'll find you. I mean, they'll find you. And that's something that they don't really talk too much about, or maybe they do, the producers do. But at the same time, you have to know that this is going to be a byproduct of you putting yourself out there. It just is. And I don't mean to talk about this as something that's lighthearted, because it's really not. I mean, this is sort of stuff that makes people go crazy. And this is sort of thing that puts people in dysfunction or derails them. And all because in the beginning, it seems so magnificent. I'm going to be on TV. I'm going to get, publicity, this, that, or the other, whatever their agenda is, their hidden agenda it might be. It's not all good. And especially when you stand with contention behind something, when you stand in favor of something and you actually stand up with a courageous conviction over something, and you are pronouncing this not just to your friend or your family member, but now to the world. Millions of people are seeing you. You're going to have to stand behind what you say. If you believe that, believe it to the day you die. at your core. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to be contradicting yourself in life, because that's what happens. We contradict ourselves all the time. And if you think you don't contradict yourself, then you're not evolving. Because in one season of your life, you're going to believe something and it's going to work for you, and you're going to be convicted by it, and therefore you're convinced by it. And then that same sort of equation or solution isn't going to fit with you 6 years down the road. Are you going to still hold on to it because you think that that's a part of your identity and who you are? I mean, or are you going to let it go and believe something different because now that fits in your life? And I'm not talking about religion or spiritual beliefs, because that should remain a constant no matter what age you are at in life or what season you're in. That should remain constant. However, maybe the way you did something back when you were 16 isn't going to be the way you're going to do it when you're 24. And you need to be able to detach from that and move forward, right? So what I'm trying to express here is that when those people are getting into the show and they think it's going to be this big, orchestration of great progression that's going to happen in their life, or it's going to propel them forward. They're going to be picked up by this agency, and the business is going to excel. Like that's a great illustration to believe, but not all the time it happens that way. And it doesn't happen that way most of the time because people are going to speak out in a way that maybe they're not understanding too well what they're speaking of, and it's just going to be taken the wrong way through America, and America is going to contort it and crumple it up and throw it back in your face. And if you're not bulletproof, you're not going to be able to take it, and you're going to crumble, and you're going to crumble so bad that you'll actually be just wishing that you would have never done this show, never stepped foot in this type of a limelight, because it's not the adequate limelight. It's not adequate for you. Now, this doesn't happen all the time, but it happens more often than not. And people get just bent over because of it. And what I'm trying to advocate is this. I don't think it's bad. After all that shitstorm has been said, I don't think it's bad that you put yourself out there. And I also think that it's very, very responsible of somebody or of you to stand up for something that you believe viscerally, wholeheartedly in, and you speak with contention on. And if that is your position with any one thing, stand there and don't kneel. Stand always and never kneel. Because even though the masses say different, but every fiber of your being says differently, you should stand with that conviction over whatever contention you're going with. Because I'm going to tell you, the responsible, dangerous people on this planet stand for something. Now, it doesn't say that, I'm not saying that they don't have, that just because these people stand for something, they're not able to administer any other types of beliefs or any other types of people's arguments or anything. But just because you stand for something and just because you believe in something, that doesn't, and maybe the people that you want to accept you, they're not accepting, it doesn't mean that you're wrong. The worst thing you can do is be malleable towards other people's positions or narratives they want to instruct in you. That's the worst thing. That's like saying, I'm a puppet, contort me however you'd like. And you definitely were made to be a puppet. You definitely were made to be contorted, man. God didn't make you that way. He didn't give you those beliefs. He didn't give you that substratum on accident or for it to be malleable. He gave that to you so you could stand and you can glorify his name through the purpose that you're fulfilling and leave a legacy. You don't leave a legacy not being responsible, not standing for something, not taking a stance in life. Now, your stance may not be, a LGBTQ or whatever that acronym is. It may not be standing up for something political, in other words. It may not be that. It may be like, man, look, man, I make the best cabinets around. I'm the best woodworker. I'm convicted by this. I'm convinced. And then somebody else is trying to tell you, yeah, man, you're good, but you're not that good. But you can't think of anything different that you'd rather do. You can't breathe anything different. Everything that you think of, everything that you see is based on the artistic side of woodworking. But because somebody else wants to fit you into a different box because they don't like that you're doing that, you obviously think to yourself, well, maybe I should. And you start to question yourself. And you slowly become diluted, and then you lose all sight of what you were gifted at in the beginning. So it may not be a stance politically. You may not take a stance on this, that, or the other that's going on in terms of the nuances that are happening now on this earth. Or they're not really nuances, but they're just the situations or the elements that are occurring now on this planet based on what you see on the news and what's going on in office, etc. Like that may not be you may not have a passionate stance regarding any of that stuff, but whatever that you have an authority over, there's an authority there for a reason, and it's not meant to just be disconnected from or diluted because it doesn't fit someone else's profile. Like, you don't need to fit someone else's profile, but you do need to stand for something. You do need to be responsible. You need to take responsibility, and you need to stand with something and actually have contention over something, because there's nothing worse than a watered-down, diluted individual that just gets sucked down into the trenches and stays there and gets plowed over dirt upon season. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than a weak individual that just succumbs to any one position that someone wants to put them in. It's just nothing worse. You can't respect the person. You can't draw. You can't honor them. You can't, none of that. It's just, it's worthless. It's meaningless. They have a worthless, meaningless life, period. End of story. But the ones that believe wholeheartedly, not from a narcissistic stance, but wholeheartedly, genuinely, that they could actually change one person's intentions or one person's demeanor for the better. And they had this from a genuine, visceral construct. There's no agenda behind it other than being better and making others better. That person that takes on that stance, even if it's not popular, you can't help but admire that person and respect that person. But someone that doesn't do that, and I'll go one further, someone that doesn't actually fear, this is another problem. Someone that someone may give you the perception that they don't fear anything. That's a dangerous person to deal with. And I'm not saying dangerous in the rightful sense, like they can do damage in a good way. They're dangerous in the ill-constructed ideological sense, meaning they don't fear something in the good way, meaning respect it, because there's a difference between fearing and worrying and then fearing to respect. And I'll give you an example. This pandemic we're going through, you can do one of two things. You can choose to say that it's the government putting fear in us, that this thing does not exist. It's just basically the flu, and it's getting blown way out of proportion, and I'm not wearing a mask because the government's trying to play me like a puppet and all that. You can do all that. That's fine. You have your stance. You have your political views on everything. I get it. Conspiracy theory and all that. But here's still the thing that you should do. Even though you believe that, you cannot fake the deaths that are coming from it. You cannot fake the respiratory infections that are coming from it that don't come from the flu, that are happening to 30-year-olds that are healthy. You can't fake that. You can't fake people that have been tested and shown up in the hospital beds and then in the graves because of this. I mean, how many times has that shit happened to the flu? What I'm saying is, you got to respect it. And if you don't respect something like that, I honestly think you're a dangerous person, but not in the contextual sense of changing the world. I think you're a dangerous person because you are ill-informed or you're naive. And I mean, that's fine, be that way, but be that way, like exile yourself. Because I promise you, there's not a reason why there's not this thing that's happening globally, and it's something that the government put on. Even if they did make it and they send it out, well, guess what? The shit's still real, and it's still killing people. And it's killing healthy people. That's the scary part. So if you don't respect that, I can't respect you. And it's the same dynamic as if in the same sense that we fear God, we don't fear God because we fear him because he's going to, cast a lightning bolt on us if we don't do good. We fear him because we respect him. That's the difference. Fear should come with the respect, not fear with worry. There's a different fear, and it's very prevalent to discern the two. Because they're very, very vastly different, and they come in different constructs, and they come with different attachments. You have one fear that is attached worry and destructiveness and dysfunction as a result, and then you have another fear that's attached to respect, and it's attached to standing for something boldly and proudly, and respecting it in the process. That's different. I want to have fear, but I want to have the right kind of fear. And I'll give you an example of this. When I pray, I don't pray and ask. This is just commentary for me, this is for you. This is something that maybe you can use, maybe you can. You can discard it if you can. I don't care. Here's the thing. When I pray, I don't pray, God, and ask him, God, help me do this. I mean, very, very minimally will I ever do that. I'd probably say 5 to 10% of that the time that I'm doing that. The other 90 to 95%, I'm thanking him for everything that he did do and everything he's going to do that I can't see, because I'm not trying to just live here and now. I got a fear associated with the future, but my fear is respected by the God that I'm serving. And that's what I stand for. That's one element that I stand for. I'm thanking him for the things that he's doing, because it's like I consider this done. It's done. I just got to wait on his timeline. But I know that I'm here and I'm waking up every morning. So clearly there's something he's doing with me. Clearly there's something he's doing with you. Don't just ask him, man, because you're in somewhat of a state of fear, the wrong fear in that sense. You can ask him, you can be fearful and worry at the same time. I'm telling him, thank you, man, because I fear the future, yes, but I'm respecting him in the process because I know what he's capable of. I know how big he is. And I know, but I don't even know. And that's the scary thing. Like, I know, but I don't even really know. But I know that I'm going to experience it. And I know that I'm going to experience a perplexity that I won't be able to even comprehend or understand or convey. It's just going to be emotional derived. I know that, but I don't know. But I'm thanking him for the things that he's going to do, because if I'm still here and this world still exists, I know those things are going to happen. Those orchestrations are going to present themselves. Those opportunities are going to arise. I know that. So I'm thanking, man. I'm thanking for the future because I'm respecting of the process. Even though, man, I don't know when my expiration date is, and I don't know the timeline that this stuff is going to happen. And that's so deterring for me as a human being, because I'm human. And I'm not saying I want things here and now, right now, here now, but I do. But I understand that there's a time and a place for everything. And I understand that this is a part of my process, and you should understand the same thing. Get up every morning and understand it's my process. I gotta just grind this out, and not grind, but I gotta wait it out. I don't mean grind like, ambition and that's cool. But sometimes the ambition, I've spoken this before, the ambition can actually send you to your grave faster than the opportunity will. Than you waiting on the opportunity. Because it's not going to be by your account, man. We've already established that. It's not going to be by your account only. And that's maybe something that I believe that maybe you don't believe. That's fine. We can separate on that. You go left, I'll go right. But I'm telling you, as many great people as I've seen flourish and influence, like I'm talking about the great people, not the ones that you think are great probably. The ones that you're looking up to, like your Grant Cardones and all that. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the people that are actually going to leave a legacy of influence genuinely, constructively. I'm not talking about somebody who says, who's got my money. I'm not talking about him or them. People that are actually diligent in a genuine agenda for others, not for an inanimate object. And so I'm waiting on my prize. And I'm thanking him in the process. Because I'm considering it done. I consider it done. But I also need to consider the timeline. Because that's a major role. That plays a major role. You can't consider one without the other. And in the due time, you gotta be patient for this. And you gotta allow consequences to happen. And you gotta allow behavioral changes to take place based on your consequences. But you gotta understand this one thing. You gotta stay consistent and constant in your stance for whatever it is that you bleed for. Done.